I love boots. I've always loved boots, and in fact, I wear boots 90% of the time, if not more, even through the heat of the summer. As such, boots are a big part of my everyday, just like pants or jackets or bags, and even belts. But you've never heard me talk about boots on this channel. So why is that? Well, to be frank, I've never felt like I found the boot, right? I found boots that I really like and I've worn until they've fallen apart, but I never really felt like I found the boot that checked all the boxes for me until recently. These boots right here, the OT from JK, are the best damn boots money can buy, and you'd be hard pressed to change my mind. Really, truly. I do want to thank JK for sponsoring this video, and I know what that sounds like. You're probably thinking, wow, he's paid to say this, but no, these are my own thoughts and words on these boots. I've been wearing them for months now. I want to tell you why they check all the boxes for me, and with that said, let's do the damn thing. So just a little quick backstory on me. My first two jobs while I was in high school were at shoe stores. A little mom and pop shoe store in the downtown area of where I grew up, and a small retail chain. And over the course of those several years that I worked at those stores, I acquired probably 50 to 60 pairs of shoes, if not more. And over the years, I've, kind of narrowed it down for tennis shoes. I know about 3 different models that work for me, and I'm happy with that. But boots has been a totally different challenge in and of itself for a number of reasons. But a few years ago, I started a similar journey with boots that I did with knives and all of the other facets of everyday carry. So I started by buying cheaper boots, and I thought I'd found a pair that I really liked, and I liked them so much that I bought several pairs to have some backups for when I would ultimately have a blowout. But all it actually took for me to realize that I was wasting my money was going out and completely thrashing a pair of those $75 boots in a single weekend on a camping trip. Just completely obliterated, had to throw them in the trash, and that was all it took. And just like with knives, or anything for that matter, once you start peeling back the layers and paying attention to the finer details and the nitty-gritty, it's hard to unlearn things and unsee things that make products better than their cheaper alternatives. And boots is definitely one of those scenarios where that is actually very, very true and very apparent. So after completely shredding a pair of Iron Rangers in about 10 months and putting a hole in the side of them somehow, still have no idea how that happened, I decided that it was finally time for me to find a pair of boots that could withstand all the things that I end up putting them through for whatever reason, and 2, check all of the boxes for me. And what I need out of a pair of boots is extremely comfortable. 10 to 16 hours of wear almost every single day where they're not going to hurt my feet. I have foot problems, or have had foot problems in the past. I have flat feet, very little arch whatsoever. So I need something that's extremely comfortable no matter how long I'm going to be wearing them. I also need something that's flexible, something that I can use just standing at my desk here at the office, or also crawling up under an excursion or the mini truck and working on things around the house. I need a boot that can fill a lot of different roles. I also need a pair of boots that is tough enough to handle everything that I throw at them. Again, I don't always understand how some of the damage happens to the boots that I'm wearing, but I ultimately end up thrashing everything. And finally, I needed a pair of boots that was suitable for dressing up or down, so working out in the yard or out in the woods, but also kind of dressing them up just a little bit. I mean, they're still a work boot, but something that can be worn to basically anything except a wedding or a funeral, something that's truly formal. I need a boot that can handle everything else. So dinner or working out in the yard. So I started talking to all of my boot friends, and Carl Morawski, who you guys may know from here on YouTube, pointed me in the direction of some P&W brands, and he actually sent me several pairs to try, and if they worked out for me, keep them. But ultimately, none of them did. He was about a half size smaller than me, but also none of the boots quite fit the roles that I wanted. So back to the drawing board, and it was actually a local friend of mine, another boot fiend, who asked if I had ever heard of JK Boots, and at the time I hadn't. But it was about 2 weeks later that JK Boots actually emailed me and asked if I would like to try out a pair. And of course I said yes, instantly. So I went to their website, started looking at what they had to offer, and it was not long before I landed on this boot right here, the OT, or Overtime boot in Bison leather, smooth, so not the rough out, with the honey sole. This right here is the boot that checks all the boxes for me. This is the everyday boot that I've been wearing for 3 months now. So specifically, one of the reasons I chose the OT is because it comes in Bison leather. They do offer Bison leather in some of the other boots, but this was the perfect blend of everything I wanted in a boot, and it all comes down to this Bison leather specifically. So you can see here, it's got a lot of pebbling in it, and that pebbling gives this Bison leather some seriously cool properties. So you can see just from this pullback here and just from the boot shaft, this is a very thick leather. It's 4 millimeters thick, which is considerably thicker than most other work boots like this. Most others are like 3 millimeter, 2.5 to 3, I believe. Maybe a little bit thicker than that, but definitely not 4 millimeters. And you might think that's a bad thing, and then it makes this thing super stiff, but Bison leather is actually very, very supple. And part of that is because of the pebbling. It keeps the leather very supple and allows it to bend and mold, which expedites that break-in process. I mean, look at the toe here. The toe you would think is very rigid, but it actually is quite squishy, but it holds its shape very well. It's also still puncture resistant. Even though it's supple, it's very, very thick still and very, very tough. So it makes it a very unique leather, and because of that, I think this really kind of balances out everything. I learned all these things from Rose Anvil, or Weston over at Rose Anvil, and he explained how this balances everything out so well. There's like this Venn diagram, and this boot kind of sits in the middle of everything because of that Bison leather. You also have on this one a honey sole. So this is a softer sole than the typical lug sole from JK. What that means is there's some trade-offs. This is softer, which means it's a little grippier and it's easier on your feet, but that also means it'll wear out a little faster. So there's a little give and take there, but I wanted the honey sole. I wanted the smooth out Bison. This is the perfect boot. So I guess we should take a step back and talk about JK. Who is JK Boots? So JK Boots is a family owned and operated boot business out of Spokane, Washington, and it dates back to 1994 when the owner or founder, John Kodzi, immigrated to the US from Ukraine. He was fleeing the former Soviet Union, and he had a dream to build a boot business with his sons, and he succeeded in that. And they still run the business today. John and his 2 sons, they run the day-to-day at JK Boots, and 100% of JK's products are made in Spokane using American materials. And at JK Boots, they do it right. The quality is second to none. They still make boots one by one, by hand, using old school techniques, and it shows. These boots are seriously the best boots I've ever put my hands on. And JK's boots come with a comfort that you won't find in many similar boots, and that's because of the way that they build the insoles. First, all of the leather from the uppers to the full leather insole will eventually mold to your foot. And what that means is eventually when you go to pull the boot on, you'll have this custom feeling fit where your foot will just snap into place. JK also uses a full leather arch support that Weston over at Rose Anvil does a great job explaining how that helps distribute your weight evenly across your entire foot. And JK's boots have a full leather heel counter as well, which helps lock your heel into place and prevent heel slippage or ankle rolling. All of this comes together to make the toughest, most comfortable, durable boot on the market. So I've been wearing these. I've been wearing this boot almost every single day for 3 months now, give or take. I mean, I'll rotate in other shoes just to give my feet a break, but for the most part, I don't need a break. I wear these day in, day out without issue, and I truly love this boot. I've done everything from road trips in these boots, chasing kids around a park, walking around Georgia bushcraft all day, to working on the excursion and crawling up under that, all day yard work in my backyard, and even weightlifting in these things, and no issues, no complaints whatsoever. I was originally a little worried about the heel because this is more of a heel than I've ever had on a boot, but I adapted to that in probably a day or two. Really doesn't feel like anything now. I'm totally fine. And I was also worried about the break-in because I've had boots that are really tough to break in before. And I'd say about 2 weeks was all it took for these boots to really just kind of snap onto my foot and feel very comfortable every single day. I have no issues wearing these every day throughout the summer. Like, I have no complaints about this boot at all. And they're tough too, right? I've been rolling around on concrete, and this is about the extent of the wear that you see on these boots. This Bison is extremely tough and resilient. There's a little bit of scuffing here around the middle of my foot. That's it. And I have literally rolled around on concrete, cement, hiked around in the woods, slipped around, kicked sticks and logs. I've done all sorts of stuff, and they have handled it without any kind of issue whatsoever. They probably need to be oiled because of the pollen this spring, but other than that, these things are holding up exceptionally well. I think the biggest hurdle for most people will be the price of these. In this current configuration, the OT and Bison leather in the smooth with the honey sole, which is how it's offered, is $625, and their manufacturing timelines do vary, but there are 3 different options when it comes to how fast you can get your boots: expedited, regular, and extended. Expedited will cost you about $105 extra. Regular is obviously just the standard. And then if you don't mind waiting a little longer, you can actually save some money and you'll get a $100 credit at checkout. So you can actually get this boot for less than $600. In fact, $525 if you're okay taking a little bit longer to get it. Over $600 for a pair of boots is no small ask, and I totally understand that. But what you're getting for that is a boot that can handle everything you throw at it and won't completely shred your feet in the process. And of course, these boots are built using a hand-built stitch-down construction, which means that they'll be resolable and rebuildable for years and years to come. So you can give them new life without having to buy a whole new pair of boots. For me, it's just like with all of this EDC stuff, it's kind of hard to go back in the other direction once you've kind of experienced something that is truly handcrafted, handmade, something that's done the right way and worth your money. So instead of buying 7, 8, 9 pairs of boots, you get 1 pair of boots that lasts longer than all of those would last collectively. And you don't have to get totally new boots. You can have the boots that you already love resold and just breathe new life into them. I think that's great. I truly do. And I personally can't see how I could go back now. Right? Just like with knives or flashlights or anything else, once you've experienced that higher quality and higher attention to detail and just lower tolerance, just better build, it's really hard to go back and forget those things and unlearn how much better these things are. I truly love these boots. We'll continue to wear the crap out of them, beat them up, and we'll check back and see how they are in a year, 2 years, I don't know. And I'm sure I'll update you guys when I do an EDC update or something, because these truly have become my everyday boot. I wear them every day. I really, really love them. They're extremely comfortable, and just, I feel like I can do anything in them and not have to worry about it. Be sure to go check them out. Hit the link in the description down below. They do offer more than just work boots. They have boots that are bigger and heavier duty than this, and they also have, you know, lighter duty, more casual boots if that's what you're after. Check it out in the description down below. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, and until then, carry on.